The Cuban Revolutionary Armed Forces are an extremely secretive military force in the Latin American region. Their military activities always arouse great curiosity for foreign observers, especially the United States. Cuba also has a fairly strong defense industry when it can mechanize many types of heavy weapons such as howitzers or anti-aircraft missiles on mobile chassis. Although it has a fairly strong ground force, the Cuban Navy is extremely lacking and has low combat capabilities even though this is a country surrounded by the Caribbean Sea. Their largest warships, of the Rio de Muji class with at least 2 currently serving in the Cuban Navy, are large used Spanish fishing boats that have been purchased, refurbished and armed. This ship is armed with 2 P-15 Termite missile launchers taken from a damaged OSA-2 missile boat, 2 25mm 2M3 twin-barreled guns and a 57mm twin-barreled gun that was originally a turret of a ZSU-57-2 self-propelled anti-aircraft gun. It can be said that the upgraded ship shows Cuba's capabilities but also shows the weakness of the country's navy when it cannot have truly modern warships. However, the current Cuban Navy is believed to also operate submarines. With only one in operation, this ship is of the Delfin class, 21 long, and its base is located at the military port of Cabanas or sometimes at the port of Havana. This is considered the most mysterious submarine in the world. Its photos are extremely rare. Recently, while visiting the poetic scenery of Havana port, a tourist accidentally took an extremely valuable photo of this submarine, which is said to be the least photographed in Cuba, anchored at the pier, hidden behind palm trees. This is also the clearest image of the ship to date. 15 years ago, the first photo of the Delfin submarine was recorded in Cuba, but due to the poor image quality, foreign observers could not see the details of the ship. Therefore, the close-up photo of Delfin taken by the tourist is extremely valuable, allowing to assess the operating status of this submarine. In addition, people can only see it through satellite images from the air. Since the Cold War, the Cuban Navy has operated 3 attack submarines transferred from the Soviet Union, but they are now all retired due to long operating time. Currently, the Cuban Navy is extremely limited. Delfin is one of the ships with the highest capacity of this force. Although it is uncertain whether Delfin is armed or not, when comparing its size with similar submarines, this Cuban submarine is capable of carrying 2 heavy torpedoes. This is the highest threat Cuba has in a naval encounter. Based on the length of the ship is about 20 m, we can estimate that the ship has a displacement of 100 to 200 tons, very small compared to the attack submarines of the US Navy, but that does not mean we can underestimate it. Remember that the incident of the South Korean anti-submarine frigate Cheonan was sunk by a North Korean mini-sub in 2010 proves that. However, the Cuban submarine Delfin is showing that it is very limited in its operations. Although there are still many limitations in the ability to deploy power at sea, however, as a poor country with the largest population in Latin America, Cuba should now invest in promoting economic development, thereby creating a solid foundation for developing the army, especially the navy. Hopefully in the not-too-distant future, we can see the real modern warships of the Cuban Navy roaming the Caribbean Sea after a glorious period. In the past, Cuba owned both real missile boats and submarines.